Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Between the Rallies podcast. I'm your host, Kyle. You guys are still here. Episode 2 and the last episode of this year. Thank you guys so much for all your support. That first episode, I got way more support than I expected. Seriously feeling the love. We are approaching the end of the year and looking forward to what's going to happen next year. At the end of the year, I like to think about kind of how my year went, and I'm going to be honest with you. This was probably the craziest year of my life, age 37. I went through a divorce. I went from 312 pounds, lost 85 pounds, ran my first marathon, ran a sub 2 half marathon, had to fight for custody of my kids. Pickleball kept me pretty grounded. Uh, Got let go from my first podcast, started another podcast. It's been a wild year, but I'm loving it. I'm very excited for what's going to happen next year. I have a lot of big goals, and this is kind of a segue into the first guest that I decided to have. I was thinking a lot about mindset. So, my first guest on the episode made sense to be somebody that specializes in mindset. So, to introduce my first guest, she has 2 decades of coaching experience. She has coached juniors, pros in tennis, pros in pickleball. She started her own mindset coaching program. She's now has an online training platform where she works with other coaches on pickleball. She's a great friend of mine. I've known her the whole time I've been playing pickleball. She's a mentor and one of my favorite people to talk to, just so down to earth. And she's going to bring some serious mindset nuggets. Uh, Her name is Maria Lopez. So, just a disclaimer before we go to that conversation I had with her today. I'm a little sorry about the audio. My audio was not very good. It was very loud in there, and my beard kind of got in the way. I tried to clean it up, but the guest audio was good, and that's the most important part. So, have a look at our conversation this morning.
Yeah, thanks for meeting me here to go through this little conversation. For those that are watching that don't know anything about you, can you explain a little bit about how you got into coaching and what kind of drew you to the mental side of the game of coaching?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's interesting, no, because I've been coaching for so many years now. And I always get this question, like, what got you into coaching? And honestly, I never wanted to be a coach, which is weird. I started coaching because I needed to make money. I needed something to figure out what I wanted to do after college. I wanted to be a professional tennis player. So, really anything after a professional tennis player, I didn't really know what to do. So I started coaching just for money, and then it started to really get something that was really interesting for me. I started getting passionate about it because I realized, wow, I'm good at this. I'm good at, figuring out what people need to get better. And I think the mindset piece, a lot of it came from just me being an athlete. At some point in my career, like I wasn't the fastest or the strongest. So I had to figure out how to be better and how to have a competitive edge. And that for me was my mindset, how I approached the game, like what I thought about my opponent, how I thought about my mistakes. And that just kind of was very interesting to me. And then from there, obviously, when I got into coaching, I realized that there was so much potential for players to continue to get better outside of just their X's and O's. And I mean, I do think I'm also a little bit of a technician, but obviously have a lot of experience, or people come or are drawn to my coaching because I tap a little bit in the mindset, shot selection, how to improve your performance in general. So,
Love that, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, even in my experience with you, like you've been a mentor to me, like talking to you about the game, especially the mental side of things. You have like a great perspective. You are able to see the game in a way that, like when you're playing it, sometimes we don't see that. And I really love that. So for our viewers out here, what's like one common mistake you see a lot of athletes struggle with mentally in their game?
I mean, I will say like over feedback. I think we as players, especially individual players, even if you're playing doubles, like we play a ton of points and we do have time to think about what we did, which in other sports you don't, right? You think about basketball or soccer, like you got to move. So if you make a mistake, like you got to move or you sit on the bench. And so here we have so much time, and I think over analyzing our mistakes, over feedback, imagine, right? You play a close 3 game, and there's, let's say 80 points, and you're giving feedback to yourself 80 times. Like, it's just too much. And so I will say, like, that is one thing that I see a lot of people make that mistake, is just continuously giving themselves feedback after each mistake. So learning when to give yourself feedback, what kind of feedback you should be giving yourself, is something that people can learn and get better at.
I think I'm a proponent of that too. I think sometimes I overanalyze every point, and I'm trying to change too much in the span of 11 points.
Right.
Instead of just focusing on maybe one thing mentally that I can change and think about that whole time. So I love that. What if, like, if somebody's out here and they're looking for kind of like a mental routine that can kind of help evolve their game a little bit? Do you have like a quick tip that most athletes could apply to themselves as like a mental routine to help them kind of stay in the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's various ways. It depends on the athlete and what they're looking for. Like, for me, I was the kind of player that lost focus when there was a big gap. Like, if I was winning by a big gap, that was something that I struggled with. And so for me, learning like when I was going to respond to that was important. And so, first of all, I think like realizing what it is that you're having, the biggest issue with when it comes out mentally. But I mean, a quick things like pre-game, right? Are you prepping yourself before you go in the game? Are you mentally warmed up? We all go out there and we maybe warm up for an hour, but like, are you actually mentally warmed up? Do you take a couple of minutes to do some breathing? Maybe a couple of minutes to visualize, like some, you see some of the players put their headphones on and really lock in, and then have some like positive self-talk, right? Like, for me, I like to tell, the athletes, like, reframe what you're feeling into the story that you want it to be successful for you, right? And so if I'm going into a game, let's say I'm playing against you and I've lost to you 3-4 times in a row, right? I'm maybe not super excited about this matchup, right? Confidence are a little low. Like, I'm gonna go in there and say, like, okay, this is awesome. Like, it's gonna be really hard for Kyle to come and beat me 4 times versus, oh my God, I'm gonna play him again. He's, so reframing like into the story that's actually, because we're gonna tell ourselves a story, right? No matter what. And so a story that's actually like productive for you, successful for you. And then another tip that I think is like, I love to do this too, is I like people to know like what are their things that they can bring into the court that no one can take away from them. So like, I ask you, like, what are some things like that are non X's and O's, right? That you're great at that no one can take away from you when you go on the court. What are some examples of that for you? You think?
Like, so for me, I think I'm very good at keeping a positive outlook.
There you go.
Very good at not getting down on my partner if they make a mistake. I feel like that's one of my strengths. I feel like I'm a very positive partner, and I would say like that's my strength is attitude.
Right, there you go.
Strength.
Okay, so you think
Maybe
about
not shots.
well, but think about it, right? You don't want them to be shots, because for me, I want something that no one can take from you. So, for example, I might say my serve is great, but if I have a great opponent who has a great return, maybe that person can take that from me. But what you just mentioned, no one can take away from you. So, like, going onto the court, reminding yourself, like, these are the things that Kyle has, no matter who he's playing. Like, a 5-5, a 6-0, a 4-5, a 4-0. Like, no one and no game style, no opponent can take those things from you. Like, that's confidence building, right? That going into the court with some of those skill sets that no one can, no matter the score, no matter what, can take from you.
So coaching, because you coach both high level all the way to pro, as well as old ladies and old guys at the park just trying to improve their game. The way you approach the mental game, like for the pros, obviously it's much more mental. Is visualization a much bigger part of the pro game, you would say, than just somebody just trying to get a little bit better? Like, how do you change your focus when it comes to coaching the different levels?
Yeah, I mean, visualization, I think it's very personal. I think at what you can see the difference between maybe like an amateur to a professional level when it comes to visualization is actually seeing themselves fail, where maybe a beginner is only seeing themselves be successful because that's what's helping them be in a positive mindset, when where you see some of like the pro athletes have to see themselves respond to failure, so they have to visualize actually watching themselves, like, what happens when this doesn't work out for me, how can I get better at this? But from a mindset standpoint, like as a coach, it really comes down to like the trust and the connection you have with your athletes, no matter the level, right? And so it would be, much better for me and the athlete if we have that relationship to be able to actually get the most out of it when it comes down to mindset. So,
Um, so you are a big component of women's sports. I know you
yep.
do specialize in that. Going in the future and with pickleball, what are you most excited for as far as women in sports in sport pickleball?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I love it. It's one of the only sports, if not the only sport, that has like equal pay. Where I think, like, for women, even in tennis, like, we are really great at offering obviously high level pay for women, but there's still a discrepancy on, payouts when it comes down to the game. And I think in pickleball is awesome because the female, and especially for mixed doubles, right? You see the women, the value that the women bring. Um, you see how, again, it's just display on TV as it is for the men, which is something that you don't see a lot in other sports, right? That's one of the reasons that's holding some of those sports back is the fact that they don't have the same access to media, the same access to sponsors, the same access to, fan engagement, all those things that are important to see the game grow. But I'm excited just to see how we start to do a little bit more research on, like, what differences do women have. It's something that when it comes down to, like, just the anatomy, the things that we haven't really tapped into in pickleball. I'm excited to see. I mean, you see it from your background in, just doing CrossFit and lifting. Like, there's huge differences in the way that you're going to coach a female athlete versus a male athlete. So
Because that's some strengths that men don't. And yeah,
absolutely.
coach CrossFit, you actually get to see some of that, which is really cool.
Exactly. It's the same in pickleball. I just think we haven't really gotten to talk enough about that. And I'm excited, even from a coaching standpoint, just how much that's going to kind of develop so much more of the female athletes who are coming into the sport, and also educate the coaches, men and women, who are coaching female athletes, because we're seeing so many young kids now going into the sport. So it will be, you have a daughter, like, think about how much better it would be if their coach knows what differences, your daughter has versus your son, right, when they're growing up playing a sport. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
All right, well, I think you brought a lot of good nuggets today. I thank you so much. For those watching, if they're interested in finding out more about you, some passion projects you have, what's going on with Maria, please let them know where they can follow you and continue
Yeah.
your journey.
Absolutely. I mean, Coach M Lopez is my social. We currently just right now have our TFPA online academy, who we just opened. It's a coaching application that we have where we're giving essentially daily feedback, daily drills. That's a passion project for me, and obviously I'm a big proponent of just helping more women coaches get into the sport of pickleball, in any sport really, with my current job at We Coach. And so helping them just be better coaches, better communicators, better leaders, so that we can have more male and female athletes grow up having, female leaders that they have, or role models that they've had throughout their career. So that's what I'm excited about. So thanks for having me.
All right, we'll give her a follow. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you, Kyle.
Give me a hug.
All right, back to the show. Again, thank you so much, Maria. That conversation was awesome. I apologize to you guys for my audio. It did suck. It'll be better going forward. Lessons learned. But I didn't want to trash that interview because I thought she gave us some really good actionable items regarding mindset, and I felt like had to publish it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. All right, what's in the bag? 3 paddles got my attention this week that I've been playing with the most. I was playing the Pickleball Apes Charm. I gave this the all-court paddle of the year for me. It just does everything well. It's like the Swiss Army knife. Like, it doesn't have a ton of top-end power, but it has enough that I didn't feel like I was lacking in the putaways. It grabs the ball really well. I was able to hit offensive lobs disgustingly. A lot of top spin, moving fast. And then in the dinks, it feels really good. And I will say that dice core technology, where they put the incisions across the foam, you do feel that power get activated when you just lay into it. So, and the innovation was there. It's cool. I like the orange. Orange might not be for everybody. I would like to see the charm in a couple more colors, because I know I have heard the color is a little bit of off-putting, but it gets noticed. So It was a great color there. I'm rocking about 5 inches of tape at the 4 and 8 position. That was enough for me. Seriously, great paddle. Take a look at it. If you grab one, I've got a code, supports the channel. I was sent this paddle for free, but seriously, I've been playing the Charm. The Charm and the Loco are kind of my go-tos right now, depending on who I'm playing. If I want more power, I go with the Loco. If I know I'm going to need a little more control, I'm going with the Charm. All right, the next paddle. I gave this paddle a lot of flack. The RPM Friction Pro. All right, so I did call it a YOLO clone. I still think it's basically a YOLO clone, but it does actually play better to me than the Pro 4. You get I felt a little more dwell time. I felt like I could shape the ball a little better on drives. Also, the grit on this is insane. Not entirely sure it's legal, but it's very gritty. Gets great spin. And I felt better in the dinks than I did with my Pro 4 that I have. I will say this is newer than my Pro 4. Pro 4 is kind of an older paddle, so my paddle has a lot of hits on it compared to the Friction Pro. But if you are a fan of supporting a smaller business and you want to grab that Gen 3, honestly, this is a good paddle. I like it. And I hear they have some foam coming out here soon. I'm Team Foam, so I'm very excited to see what they come out with next. But for a first entry, this was good. And with all the publicity around Big Papa Jimmy and the Japan trip, I'm sure he's moving a lot of paddles right now, so good on you. And lastly, it's not a new paddle in the bag. I kind of just wanted to talk about an accessory. So I got my Loco, and I've been using the sliders. So this is movable weight, similar to the Selkirk MOI system. Everybody was worried that these were going to fly off and hit people in the face or pull your edge guard off. I've installed these, and I've put, I don't know how many hours on this Loco. My edge guard is solid, not moving at all. I have not had to retighten these once. So that's just showing that like the machining of this was really good. So shout out to Slice on the sliders. I'm really digging them. Illegal in UPA, so if you're a pro, you're out of luck. But if you want to play at the park and you play USAP, you're good to go. Some cool weight options. They sell all kinds of paddle customization stuff, but the sliders are really fun. I also helped come up with the name, so I'm kind of fond of them. So that's what's in the bag. All right, around the net, let's talk about what's going on. I am headed to Japan January 18th to the 31st. That weekend, I think it's the 23rd, 24th, I have 2 big open play events scheduled. One on the east side of Tokyo one day, and then one on the west side the next day. Looking forward to that. I'm going to be playing with a lot of the kind of club leaders. I don't know if you guys caught the podcast that we had talked about pickleball in Japan, but public, like open court, open play doesn't really exist there as much, kind of like America. They have clubs and they meet up and they do like 3-hour sessions where they drill for like an hour and a half and then they play. It's very different. There's a bunch of private clubs. They rent out gymnasiums, stuff like that, because in Tokyo, there's only one indoor hard court surface. The rest is gymnasiums, hard wood, badminton, lines, basketball lines. There's a lot of lines. It's line spaghetti. Still a lot of fun to play with them, indoor balls. But pickleball's growing. It's going to be excited to see. They do have some new outdoor options. It's going to be really cold when I'm there, so I probably won't get to play outdoors too much. I'm not opposed to it. I live in Idaho. I'll play in the snow if I have to because I love pickleball. So super, super excited for that. All right, a little bit of drama. We're seeing a couple Yola pros leave. Deckel Barr and Eric Onsen said goodbye to Yola this last week. And the speculation, I've seen speculation that they're going to RPM. Why did they leave? They haven't announced. Eric Onsen's posted that he will make an announcement on January 1st where he's headed. I'm curious if they were let go or the new contracts just weren't favorable. I've seen a lot of chatter and talk. The ROI for pros, is it really there? I don't think that pros outside of the top 20, unless they have like a big personality. Like I know Tyson moves a ton of paddles regardless, just because he's a big personality. But some of these pros that are like up and coming with these paddle contracts, are they actually moving paddles? Is the ROI there for big contracts from the paddle manufacturers? I don't know. We're seeing a lot of Selkirk pros leave. We've seen a lot of Yola pros leave. So I think some of these companies are realizing that maybe the pros aren't moving the paddles the way they would want. Obviously, Annalie Waters, Ben Johns, big names like that, they're going to keep paddles flying off the shelf. So we'll see where those guys land. I'll be interested to see if they do end up at RPM, considering RPM didn't pay the marketing fee for UPA. So that would be an interesting move there. So we'll keep you informed on that. So let's get into mail call. Had a good question here from Vince7227. I hear pro singles players weight their paddles to 9 to 10 ounces. Is that true? So I got a hold of a couple pros this week and got their basically what they keep their paddles around. So first I talked to Chris Hayworth, who took gold singles in the last PPA. He says, I keep my paddle around a 9 ounce. But that changes depending on the condition. If the ball is going to be moving a little faster, i.e. colder or inside, he'll basically, if it's colder, it's a little lighter. If it's warmer, the ball is going to be moving slower, so he weights it up a little more. Michael Lloyd, great singles player, he said he keeps his about 8.8 ounces, but he is one of the few singles players that actually uses the same paddle in singles as he does in doubles. And then finally, I had to get a lady's perspective. So Kate Fahey, she didn't know the exact weight of her paddle, but she said, I add 2 grams to each corner at the top. And that's how she is. So basically, she gets her new paddle. She puts 2 grams at each corner, added swing weight, a little bit of more plow through. Makes sense. And then the next question from Christy Gibson 09. Why do some paddles play differently in different weather? So this is kind of the same thing with how Chris Hayworth was saying he changes the weight depending on the weather. When it's colder, your paddle is obviously a little harder. We're seeing this affect foam a little more, that the temperature varies. So when it's hot, it's softer. You're getting a little more give in that material versus it being cold where it's a little more rigid. So that'll affect the play. And it's the same thing with the ball. Like when I played softball, the same thing. If it was cold, you were hitting bombs because the bats were cold, the ball was cold, so you were able to the ball just went so much further. So that's kind of how the weather affects it. We are noticing with foam, though, that was why we were seeing like some desponding with the heat and stuff. It seems that foam is a little more sensitive to the temperature changes. I think that is being solved with some adhesive and stuff, but that's kind of the reasoning behind that. And then finally, that brings us into our last section. Smash or pass. I only put one topic in here because we had the guest today. So the one topic is the James Ignatowicz, Viv Glosman, and Ryan Fu being kicked out of the PPA for attending a clinic in Japan. So I think this one's pretty complex. I'm usually pretty anti-UPA, like power to the people, and the growth of pickleball is very important to me. I think 100%. I don't think they should have been kicked out, per se. I do think, based on we'd have to see their contracts, but if there was a breach in their contract, obviously there should be some kind of punishment. They did an RPM promotion while they were over there, which to me is funny because it was advertised as like PPA pros and whatnot. And it's funny because RPM doesn't pay the marketing fee for the UPA. So to use the PPA marketing those pros going over there, I do see that as a little bit shady. But again, I'm still all about the growth of pickleball. I don't think they should have been kicked out of the PPA, and they are appealing it. So hopefully we'll see what happens there. But there does need to be some more black and white rules. Like when these pros breach their contract, like when QD was said that he breached his contract and whatnot, there should be, you do this is the punishment, whether it be money, suspension, full-on expulsion from the league. It needs to be much clearer. I don't like the whole gray area of like, all right, you're out. And if Paris Todd really did the same thing as these guys, why is she not kicked out? Personally, she's a very big face in the PPA. Losing her hurts their brand a lot more than losing Ryan Fu, even though he's an up-and-coming pro. So I'm going to go with a pass on that. And that will conclude today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you guys in the new year, and I'm looking forward to bigger and better things. Hope you guys have a great New Year's.